All right, welcome back to Cool Classics. Today we're going to talk about two of our favorite women of television and how they saved the Levi Strauss Company. The company was founded in May of 1853 when German immigrant Levi Strauss moved from Budenheim, Bavaria to San Francisco, California. There's a lot to the history of Levi Strauss and we're not going to get into all that. We'll save that for another video. We're going to focus here on how the television, pop culture in general, affects the fashion of the times and how it did save Levi. First, I want to give you one fact about Levi Strauss. Most people think that the first jeans were made so they could sell them to miners during the gold rush, but the gold mining peaked in 1849, and their first ever pair of jeans, the Levi's 501s, were made in 1890, so that's not technically true. Now, the modern blue jeans began to appear in the 1920s, but sales were largely confined to the working people of the western United States, such as cowboys, lumberjacks, and railroad workers. Levi's jeans apparently were first introduced to the East during the dude ranch craze of the 1930s. So when vacationing Easterners returned home with their tales of what was going on out in the western states, of the hard working people and their pants that they had with rivets on them, people started wanting them back east, and so sales expanded throughout the country back then. But they were still like a novelty item. Now, Levi's received another boost in popularity, and they gained a lot of respect when during World War II they were declared an essential commodity and were only to be sold to people engaged in defense work. So from that point on, they were associated with being tough, rugged clothing, really just mainly jeans at this point. But then in the early 50s, they got associated with their first trend, the greasers. Those guys with their hair slicked back, the white t-shirts with a pack of cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve. Well, they were wearing blue jeans rolled up at the bottom. They were tough, they were cool. By the late 50s and early 60s, sales of Levi's jeans had really dropped a lot. They still were not adopted by the overall general public as casual wear. You have to remember, at the time, men would go to a baseball game and be in the stands with suits and ties on. The women were wearing dresses and skirts. Everybody was still wearing traditional clothing. Then on September 26, 1962, a TV show debuted called The Beverly Hillbillies. And boy, was it a hit. Nationwide, it was climbing the charts, eventually hitting #1 for the year. And it lasted till May 29, 1963 for the first season. And just in that span of time, sales of Levi jeans were skyrocketing. But not just any jeans, women's jeans. The character of Ellie Mae Clampett was played by Donna Douglas, who had the body of a beauty queen with the soul of a tomboy. Everybody was watching her and they couldn't help but notice her jeans that she was wearing. She had a rope belt, but that didn't matter. The women were looking at her and going, I could wear that too, if only I could find some. Because like I said, they weren't readily available. They were not fashionable for women to wear. Not yet, but it was happening. They were going out looking for them and buying all of them off the racks that they could find. Eventually, that same year, Levi's figured out what was going on and they increased their women's line. They were putting out more sizes, more styles, and they were putting them in every store that would allow them. And sales just went up, up, up. In the fall of 1963, as the Beverly Hillbillies was entering its second season, a reporter asked the Levi Strauss vice president what he thought about the trend of women wearing blue jeans. And he says, and I quote, Donna Douglas has done more for the sale of blue jeans in 1 year than the Cowboys have done in 100. So there's your prime example of trends and pop culture going hand in hand. They always have. I think they always will. Donna Douglas, as Ellie Mae Clampett, started the trend of women wearing blue jeans for fashion. And the show lasted for 9 seasons, all the way till March 23rd, 1971. And it was very popular the whole time. Those are the same years that the Levi Strauss Company experienced its largest growth and expansion in its company's history. They also experienced a boost in popularity with the hippie movement and the rocker movement of the late 60s to the mid-70s. But by the mid-70s to the 80s, they were in trouble again. Sales had declined and disco was in. Bright colors were coming out on the West Coast. Things were changing. But here comes a brand new TV show in January of 1979, The Dukes of Hazzard. And oh, did they have a star. Daisy Duke, played by Catherine Bach, was the standout on the show. And again, it was based around country folk which people like to make fun of, but they sure do love to buy their clothes. The whole cast was either wearing blue jeans or overalls, but Daisy Duke was wearing cut-off jean shorts, so short that you could see the pockets hanging out the bottom of the legs, where the fray was around where she had cut them off. Yep, they were tight, they were a perfect fit, and they were a perfect trend. And knowing that the trend is your friend, Levi's took full advantage of this. They started sending jean shorts to every store that they could, all different size and lengths. They even had some that were made to be cut off by you yourself. They were also selling tons of their long sleeve button-up shirts. The guys could get them and roll up the sleeves and look like Bo and Luke Duke. The girls would put them on and tie them around their midsection, look like Daisy. The Dukes of Hazzard ran for 7 seasons, all the way to February of 1985, which is prime time for the big 80s bright color scene. But denim was in, and they survived because of Daisy Duke. She created not just a trend, but part of pop culture history. Anytime you see a woman wearing short shorts, they're called Daisy Dukes. It's been referenced in many movies and immortalized in songs. Donna Douglas as Ellie Mae Clampett and Catherine Bach as Daisy Duke are not just television icons, they are both in the Levi's Hall of Fame. 2 of my all-time favorites. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment and subscribe. Also, click on my Linda Carter video. I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you're a fan of the Beverly Hillbillies, I'm sure you'll enjoy my Irene Ryan bio. Cool classics.